Hello, everybody, and welcome to Know Your Shit podcast, where our knowledge and pride in what we do drives us to be excellent. My name is Josh Cadillac.
But I'm looking forward to our conversation.
This is going to be good, man. So, Evan, why don't you tell everybody what it is you do? I know that's not a little question.
I'm a mental performance coach. So I work with the mind. So, when we talk about business, my clients range from professional athletes, C-suite executives, and obviously Wall Street professionals, because I spent 25 years on Wall Street before I got into coaching. But it's interesting. The most important thing I think in anybody's game, in anybody's arsenal, has to be their mental side. So I was enamored when I was playing college lacrosse. I'm like, what makes people behave differently in the face of? And it was one of those things that's always fascinated me. And fortunately, I had the opportunity when I was 46 years old to pivot out of the hedge fund world because of which I thought was a heart attack, but fortunately it was a massive panic attack. And it led me to think, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? And I was very fortunate, Josh, to have some phenomenal mental coaches. I said, you know what? I'm going to give this a go. I literally went back to school at 46 to learn about psychoanalytical theory and neuroscience. And here, 7.5 years later, after coaching some of the greatest people in the world, I started M1 Performance Group about a year ago. And my job is to marry the why and the how. Why do we do what we do? And how do we shift behavior to create new experiences and new wiring in the brain where that becomes our default? So that's what I do. Yeah.
So what do you think really kicked you down that road, man? I mean, it was the panic attack that pushed you that way?
It was one of those things. Well, it's a deeper story than that. I was a college athlete and I blew my knees out twice. And I had identical twin brother who went to University of Pennsylvania with me to play lacrosse. And I lost my identity as a student athlete. And, at that time, I'm 52 years old. Nobody spoke about this mental side, this crap.
Yeah.
Just put some dirt on it, toughen up. But it really lingered for years, decades. And even though I was performing at the top, at my highest, at the top level of what I was supposed to be doing, I knew there was something missing. I kept reverting back to familiar behaviors that were just not benefiting me any longer. Why? Why do I keep doing this? Intellectually, I knew what was going on, but there was this emotional blanket that I was resistant to acknowledge. And then I met some great people along the way. And this one woman who was really helpful in that arena, she said, you know what? Tell me more about you. Give me a little more background. What's going on under the hood? And we built this trust and I started to open up and something happened. And I know sitting on trading desks with high achievers, high decision makers, everybody could benefit from this because I saw it. I was a partner at this firm. Like people were repeating things, even though intellectually they knew it. There was this resistance to change.
Yeah.
I said, you know what? So when I was 46, I thought I had a heart attack, but it was actually a massive panic attack. Even though, Josh, I was at the top of my game, the gray matter in my brain was starting to decay because of this chronic stress. And I had the opportunity to make a pivot, even though it was scary. But ironically, I've always wanted to do this. Took a 98% haircut, went back to school. My first client ever was Jimmy Johnson at Hendrick Motorsports and his pit crew teams. And after that, I'm like, this is what I'm doing. And it's been an amazing ride because I think it's so important.
Cool. So what do you think you like best about it, Evan?
That's a great question. And actually, nobody's ever asked me that. I don't think that people are limitless. I know it. I've seen it. I've coached it. When we start, we all have emotions, whatever you want to call them, negative, the fears of, but in actuality, that's just energy. That's just data. We all have this. My job is to bring the unconscious conscious. When we become more conscious as human beings, we could rewrite the script. We have the ability to create new experiences in the brain. So one of the biggest compliments I get as a coach is, how did we get here? Like, how did this happen?
Yeah, sure.
How did I go from here to there? And we know life's not linear, right? There's no guarantees that we go from A to B. And I do enjoy a good struggle. But all of a sudden, when we start to believe what we're really capable of, like Nick Saban says, is a capability gap, and you start to fill that, the fulfillment you get, one, as a coach, and the fulfillment you see in your clients is enough, right? It's enough to get me out of bed in the morning. Like, what can I do? How can I serve? Because I know this works. It's not easy. It does get easier. It takes this commitment.
Sure.
But through the right support, we all have this opportunity. I know this sounds cheesy, but in order to not survive anything, but to really thrive, right? To create your own internal momentum. It's fascinating. I could talk about, I know we're on a tightrope here, but I could talk about this for hours.
No, yeah. I get it, man. I get it. You love what you do. Where do you think, looking back, where do you think all the success came from?
You know, it's a great question. So I grew up, I was raised by a single mother, and I had three brothers. I'm an identical twin, and my older brother was handicapped. My dad was non-existent. But even though he wasn't around, I had some phenomenal people around me, some incredible support, some really great success stories. And my nucleus, my friendships growing up, these guys were just beasts. And we just kept pushing each other as if we didn't know any better. As if we were psycho lunatics pushing each other, like a constant cheerleading squad saying, let's go. And I'm very fortunate to have an identical twin brother who's just a mental and physical beast, who we were always driving each other. So I am very grateful to still have those people in my life and to say, what else we got? What else can we do? I'm very fortunate. So I think that's where that comes from.
So kind of off that, what do you think in your makeup, the way you're wired, makes you good at what you do?
I believe in not yet. I'm not there yet. So, and I also believe that nobody's perfect. And I also believe in
so what I'm hearing is, I don't mean to interrupt, but so striving constantly, but giving yourself permission to not quite be there yet.
Yeah. Well, you think about it, right? If I said to you, Josh, you're perfect at what you do, you'd be like, why? Why am I perfect? You mean that's it? That's all I got in the tank? This is the best I'm going to get?
It's not where I want to be.
What does that even mean? Right? Like I've been fortunate to have a hell of a career, right? I had a great fund, made some great investments. But if somebody told me, you're good, well, I don't want to be good. I'm not there yet. There's so many things I want to experience. So don't say that. Yeah. And that's what I.
That means it's all downhill from here. This is not what I want to hear.
Over. You know what it is? I'm not chasing. I'm exploring.
Sure.
Right. I'm seeing what's out there. I'm very fortunate to have a wonderful wife and two amazing daughters who are 14 and 12. I'm very grateful for that. However, I want to see what this game is all about. I got one shot at this thing. I don't mind failing. But it's interesting when people ask me, what's the strongest emotion? Is it fear, judgment, embarrassment, rejection? I said, it's not actually. The most intense feeling that we have is something called regret. Regret is the most intense feeling that we have. So if that's true, right? And as we get older, obviously our chance to recover is gets smaller and smaller, right? Sure. So I always tell my kids, I'm like, go for it. Let's see, right? That sounds like, don't regret it. Give it a shot. Be curious. Curiosity in its essence is information seeking. So
Sure.
in a way, like, go see. If we're wrong, we're wrong. But you never
Yeah.
know. Right? So as a coach, I have to get people over that resistance to
Of course.
see the possibility. And that takes effort. That takes repetition. But
Sure.
all of a sudden, you start to see a glimpse of it and we recommit and we start building these mental foundations of what's possible, of what you're capable of doing. You know, at MM, we always say consistency with evidence builds confidence. And it's so true. I don't care. Everything is connected when we do, right? So when I talk about athletes, CEOs, Wall Street guys, sometimes it's not necessarily on the field that this is happening. It could be keeping your word, right? You
Mm.
know, to me, success is, and I'm very careful what I say. So if
Yes.
we start keeping promises to ourselves, that's confidence. If
Yep.
we're able to not react in situations, even though there's no dollar bottom line in that moment, that's confidence because we're able to feel
Trust, trust
and
ourselves.
trust ourselves. Exactly. I mean, what's better than that? Give me the ball, coach. I trust myself.
Yeah. Internal integrity. Like you know what you're capable of. You know that you'll come through in a pinch because you've seen it happen. The problem for most people is they've seen themselves in a pinch, and they've let themselves down time and time again, and they built that pattern. Look, winning streaks and losing streaks tend to perpetuate. They breed like rabbits, man. So, I mean that idea that let's go out and get a W today. Let's win with ourselves today, and then do that again tomorrow. And now that's a win streak. And let's keep doing that. Keep it small, keep it simple, and then keep moving because I mean, people have had decades to have that pattern of internal integrity just not exist. Tell them I'm going to go to the
Oh,
gym today and then not do it. So
you know, I did
that
a post on Monday about Federer, right? And he did a commencement speech. I think it was at Dortmund. He's won 80% of his matches. It's a mind blowing number, but he's only won 54% of his points. That's even more of a mind blowing number. So you're
yes,
telling me that mental legend only won 54% of his points? So that means that he's lost
40.
quite a few.
Yeah,
He's lost 48% of his points.
yeah.
That tells you something, right? It's how do we
Comparative.
view. I
Yeah,
mean, you talk about mental, like personal, internal integrity. That is, you talk about trust. And
absolutely.
that's what I want from people. But you know, the greatest point, Josh, is that you have to put yourself out there to experience that, right?
Mhm.
You know, we're not going to win them all.
Yeah, yeah,
But to go see the possibility, right? Whatever fear of you have, once you're able to align new behaviors and give yourself that mental space, you're telling me you're not capable because you
yes,
don't mind if you're wrong,
yeah.
but you learn from it and you move. You know, when I started M1 Performance Group this January 2024, I had zero social media. Even though I've owned companies, I've never had my own company. So I was nervous at all these things. What am I going to do? What happens if? What the woulda, coulda, shoulda, maybe? All the cousins come in. I said, all
Yep,
right, Ev, slow the hell down. Let's go see what this is about.
yep.
And it was step trigger me. And it's not her, it's somebody in my past that where I feel disrespected. There's no way a 10-year-old should get a reaction like happens sometimes. I said, you know what? That is, come on. Let's get better at that. So now when she does it, you're going to feel how you feel. But I put that space because I've trained myself. I smile. In my mind, I want to do something, but giving yourself that space, okay, how do I want to handle this? That's consciousness. Whether you're a trader, whether you're in real estate, okay, whether you're in sales, people come, okay, take a breath. All right, now we're conscious. Right now, we're not going back into familiar patterns that don't serve us any longer. We have the opportunity. What do I want to do now? Now we do that repeatedly, and we start to build new circuitry in the brain. That's the neuroplasticity. That's the neuroscience of this.
Yeah, you
learning and you watch what happens. Yeah, you're 52. I'm still changing.
Yeah. No,
why not?
For me, it was always, I used to ask for a moment of clarity. If I could get a moment of clarity, if I could get 1 second between feeling it and reacting so that I could have a second to sit here and say, is that really how I want to do this? Right? Like just a second, rather than that acting like that's the two things are interconnected. You're absolutely right. And so just putting a little bit of air gap between the two to make a decision consciously, not have it be, have it be a CEO decision rather than an employee decision. Employees go to stimulus and away from pain. I want to take and CEOs sit there and say, hey, what's in the best long-term interest of what we're looking to do? And so for me, that's always how I've kind of framed it in my own head. But I hear what you're saying, man. I love it. I want to get to
reacting is so different. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I always want to hear what you have to say.
If you reactive, I go, if a guy walks in my house with a machete and I have 2 daughters and a wife and I have a little puppy, I'm going to react. And I know exactly what I'm going to do. If a Mack truck is coming at my car, I'm reacting. Right?
Absolutely.
I don't need mental space. But a lot of times that don't happen in my life. So I know I can give myself a couple seconds to respond, not react. Remember, react is react. That's reacting from past experiences. You got to remember the brain is a predictive mechanism. So it predicts into the future, but that future is based on past events. So now in the face of emotions, we create new behaviors that create new experiences in the brain. So now when the brain is predicting into the future, it's like, wait a second. The pond has gotten bigger. So in the past, I would do this. Wait a second. I see a new experience tinkling around in the water over there. I can do this actually. So now as we really embody this change, when we start tripping into the future, the pond looks a lot different.
Sure.
That's the amazing part.
The mind itself is just incredible. The statistical analysis that it's constantly doing based upon, its lived experience and how it thinks we should react to that experience is just nuts. I mean, when you think about the quantity and volume of data that it's dealing with, it's a thing. I mean, the thing is, the reaction is a tool. I've worked with my hands for years, and you have a toolbox full of tools because one tool is not always the right tool for every job. And so reacting in the moment, it is a skill set. And frankly, it's a skill set to hone. I mean, to be the athlete, to react the right way when the ball is tipped in the air, that's a skill set in itself, but it's not always the right tool for every job. And I think that's kind of what I hear you saying here is the idea that it's not always the right tool for the job. Maybe, taking a step back to think in some circumstances is perfect, but if the shit's hitting the fan and somebody needs to do something right now, then reacting, it may be the play because that's
now you're talking about intuition versus impulsivity, right? So intuition is experience of knowing what to do when it happens, right? So you have that intuitive feel. I know what to do. And that speeds up that response. Impulsivity is playing from the past, right? When we do things like automatically that don't serve, but you're 100% right. It takes experience to have that intuition, like what you do for a living. And usually I don't know any of that stuff. So I would probably react because I don't know what I'm doing. But the more I get used to it, the more I experience it and develop behaviors around it, I would hope through repetition and time, I would also have that intuitive feel to be able to react. But it's interesting, like that took commitment, that took experience, that took repetition. So you are rewiring your brain as you do that. I'm
Absolutely.
sure you won't know how to do that when you started, right? That's just experience. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
This is amazing stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about the thing. I mean, both entrepreneurs here. When you're an entrepreneur, you tend to deal with more of this than other people do because you're exposing yourself to more of this than other people do. How do you manage yourself when you have unmet expectations, when you fall short, when it doesn't go quite the way you want it to? Because I mean, now you got so much more on your plate than just somebody that works for somebody does. How do you deal with it?
It's a great question, and I experienced it. So throughout my coaching career, I was always referred, and I never solicited anybody. They just came to me. But as I started to build M1, I'm bringing coaches on. I said, you know what? I didn't want to go solicit people. This is what I told myself, because I didn't want to hurt the brand. Like, we're needy. We're going out. And I was speaking to a friend. He's like, oh, really? Do you really think that's what's going on? I go, what do you mean? He goes, what's the fear? The fear of rejection, the fear of this. Remember, procrastination is not the lack of effort. It's the fear of a future feeling. And I was in it. So I sat back and I smiled and I said, you're damn right. So now I had to equip myself and say, all right, man. I said, what I do is important. I really do believe that. And I think I can help people. So why is it that people come to me and I think it's, wow, look at them. They're taking the initiative, but why not me? And I literally took a walk and I had a chuckle with myself. I'm like, really, Evan? That's what's holding you back? And I had to come to terms, even though I'm mentally trained for decades. I said, you know what? It's still there. Fine. At least I acknowledged it. And literally, I turned. And you know what? If it takes me a couple no's and people aren't ready for this or whatever, so be it. And literally, it didn't hurt that much at all. And I met some incredible people along the way doing this. Absolutely. It was just that moment. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the fear of loneliness is more intense than actually being alone. Oftentimes, it's the fear of the thing more than the actual thing. The thing is not usually as bad. The monster that is fear.
Yeah. So but being an entrepreneur, it's all on us. But I enjoy that. I enjoy that. I say pressure is a privilege. Like, I want it, right? I haven't figured it out yet, but I'll get there. I don't know when, but I know that this journey has never been linear. It will never be linear. I don't mind it. I gain strength when I have to course correct sometimes, but all of a sudden, I'm on a different level all of a sudden. Like, that's just how growth, development happens.
Sure. You're constantly proving yourself to yourself and showing yourself capacity. I mean, it's a good thing. You start again. You build that trust in your ability to persevere. I believe in that a lot as well. So let me ask you this: what's a tool you'd suggest to help our listeners? Something that they can use today.
One of the there's so many we know about mindfulness, awareness. All those things, we know mind, body, like overthinking. Sometimes you can't overthink. You got to get into the body, go for a walk, go for a workout, let your mind relax, because when you let the mind relax, the unconscious could do its thing. But one of the simplest things that you can do, and it's mental space. Slow, we always say you have to slow down in order to speed up. And slowing down actually is the art of intentionality. So this happens whether you're a parent, you have a spouse, you're in business. When you feel something and you're about to react, give yourself 5 seconds. Take a breath. If you can do that, clarity starts to form, right? It's literally when you feel about to do something impulsive, hang in there for 5 more seconds and take a breath. That's it. That is one of the greatest things you can do. Yeah. Right. Put it in draft immediately. Right.
Don't hit send.
space. If you're able to do that, it opens the door for so many brilliant opportunities for you. And I'll read this. There's a book called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. He's a Holocaust survivor, and it's one of the greatest books ever written. And his template really is: there is stimuli and triggers, and then there's a gap, and there's an action and a response. In that gap, you can call it presence, freedom, clarity. But what happens is the better you get at feeling triggers, feeling the stimuli, and acknowledge it quickly, and then you choose how you want to respond, act, that middle gets bigger, bigger, and bigger. And so does your vision. So the opportunities you saw once are going to be much wider now, right? Because your brain has more time to see it, as opposed to playing tug of war with the stimuli and trigger, and then reacting as opposed to responding. Yep. Like it's a very, and if I could say one last thing, mental performance is a very simple formula. Performance equals potential minus interferences. You start to lessen these interferences, potential goes, thus performance moves in the right direction. It's the unconscious things that you do. We become better aware of that, giving ourselves mental space to not react on them and to build new things. We start to lessen these interferences. Think about it. Simple formula. Performance equals potential minus interferences. We get to really start to take away these interferences. It's a simple equation.
Yeah. Simple stuff. Easy,
simple stuff.
Simple stuff. Yeah. All right. So we got to go to a little bit of a lightning roundish thing here, just to take and try to make sure we get as much Evan as we can in the limited time that we got. What would you say that is the most important thing you've learned in the process of doing what you've done?
Building great community, having great support. Sound a little corny, but I was a soccer and lacrosse guy. My mom was very supportive, and she's a wonderful woman. But I never had a dad. My dad, we went to University of Pennsylvania. My dad went to Penn State to see us play lacrosse. Didn't even know university we went to. Being able to watch my daughters play soccer, one's a soccer lacrosse player and one's a dancer. My proudest moments is when I'm sitting there watching them. The joy I get I will never miss anything, is indescribable. So my greatest success is watching them live this out. I don't know if that's the answer you were looking for, but that is it. Yeah.
That's fine. That you broke the pattern, you did it differently. That's hey man, that's what this is about, man. We've seen the mistakes on display, not perpetuating them.
Some of the greatest role models are the things not to do.
I saw that first, and I want
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a pass, hard pass over here.
Yeah.
Favorite movie of all time?
My kids are like, "Are you serious?" I listen. There's some great movies out there, but I don't know why I get sucked into Roadhouse so
Good
much.
movie.
I started taking Tai Chi because Patrick Swayze was doing it on the lawn when I was like 24. Who doesn't love Sam Elliott? Right boot. Like,
You know,
I have no idea. It's one of my favorite movies.
that man's commitment to facial hair is impressive.
It's
Um,
so impressive. I mean, TBS ran this every day for like 46 years.
every time. That one, The Princess Bride, always sucked me in. Famous person. I'm not proud of it. It's just how it is. Famous person in history you'd want to meet if you could.
I'm in the mental game, right? And there's so many. We could sit. This could be a 4-day retreat. But for some reason, Rafa in tennis, the way
Okay.
his injury and the way he did certain things, because I want to keep it mental, because I can go on and on but how he plays the game is just insane, right? That's the sports side. And then there's Kobe. Oh, I don't know. I mean, there's Kobe. And then there's some of the greatest civil activists of all time. The Kobe thing. I don't know. That's a tough question. But I want to keep it to what I do. I'd say I want to like to have lunch with Rafa, Kobe, MJ. Like those. That would be. I'd love that. Yeah.
Similar question, but more personal. What person from your past would you want to sit down with and have lunch with today, if you could?
What person my past?
Yeah.
I think my father.
Really?
He died homeless. And I just want to understand, like, and I don't know if he could explain to me like why things happened the way they did, because I think he was definitely mentally sick. But to sit down with, if I can get a clear sense of conscience of like, tell me a story, man. Like, I want to know. He was married, 4 or 5 times, had 7 kids. Like, what was going on? Like, what were you feeling? Like, can you tell me a story? I don't have. He's passed away, but like, I'd like to know. Like,
Yeah, yeah. No,
what,
I get it, man.
yeah.
Like a little. It's kind of like where we came from. A little bit. It's really an interesting.
Yeah.
It's a thing. I mean, I had my father for a lot of time, but even so, now that he's gone, I mean, there's so many stories I wish that I could have heard. I know he had so many more stories to tell, and I would have loved to have heard them, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, Evan, a little bit faster than I like to wrap things up. I want to say thank you so much. Where can people find you?
I'm on. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. This could have gone on for a longer period of time.
Oh yeah.
M1performancegroup.com is my website where it has all my. I've done quite a few podcasts and things like that. Evan Marks on LinkedIn. We produce content 4 times a week. We do, and we're very proud of it. We do some great videos, and Wednesdays and Thursdays that I think are dynamite. And I'm emark72 on Instagram, Facebook. That's where you can find me. Yeah, and also I'll be doing a TEDx talk. We're nailing down a spot in the next 3 months, and the theme is about curiosity and mental performance, and we're very excited about that. But I'll definitely hit you up, Josh, and tell you when it's coming on. When we play.
Definitely, Evan. Thank you so much, and thanks for coming on again, buddy. It was great having you. And to all of our listeners, thank you for spending your time with us, and reminding you always, guys, there's never a good excuse not to know your shit. Till next time.